I'm actually here happily with Bakir and Athena, who are former students. They're here. So I'm going to actually start my timer so I don't run over their time. I'm going to go as fast as I can through the things that I want to show you. It was actually in the spring of last year that we did a digital storytelling class. And the digital storytelling class was spring of 2022. And in the digital storytelling class, it did a few different things. This is just to remind us all that coming into the end of COVID, time was like a flat circle, and none of us felt like we could get out of anything. So as we're talking about community engagement, one of the things that I realized was that COVID made me do something that I was already interested in and invested in as a filmmaker and as a professor, of discipline that requires an enormous amount of interdependence. The people have to know each other, trust each other, count on each other to get the work done, not just count on each other's skill set, but count on each other's mindset. And so, in fact, what had happened was I had to rediscover my class as the first community of work, if we're talking about community-centered work. And to discover them as a community meant realizing that COVID had thrown our course organization into disarray. So I no longer could count on the fact that all the students were like juniors, roughly, or sophomores. We had a mix of everything from freshmen to super seniors. There had been a dearth of production opportunities because it's such a close encounter kind of situation. So we had to go back in. Nobody had the same kind of set of skills. So we had to relearn who we were and how to be people together. And there's an incredible opportunity because the box had gotten shaken up, but it required us to come in with a great deal of co-vulnerability. If we're coming to community members to say, tell us your story, let us share that with you, let us carry that for you, then we as students of filmmaking, and I consider myself a student with my students, have to come in understanding our own positions, our own bias, our own understandings, our own skill sets. And we really spent a lot of time with short assignments around our identity, around ethics, around documentary and community-based practices. We also had the benefit, as I was trying to engage and enlarge our community of practice, of a couple of really wonderful high-level, three really high-level visits to our class. One from Raymond Rea, an early founder and participant in the San Francisco queer film world. Another from Smokey Sumac, who's a Canadian two-spirit transgender Tupaksa author, academic, and poet. We also had the benefit of seeing the Panola Project on its premiere debut at Sundance. It's a former student of mine, Jeremy Levine, and Rachel De La Cruz. They did the Sundance premiere, but they also did an individual Q&A with our students that I think lasted an hour and a half. And excitingly, their short documentary, The Panola Project, which was about a woman getting vaccines to her largely African-American community in the South, is up for an Oscar in consideration this year from the short documentary shorts category. So our community partners, we had three. There were 18 students. We had three clients, the KU Biodiversity and Natural History, Thrive, and the Quindaro Underground Railroad Museum. In all three instances, the students were required to research topics, approaches, the specific organization that they got to choose. They produced multiple shoots with figuring out the locations, the interview subjects, submitting questions in advance, figuring out the crew and their gear. And the deliverables consisted of short videos, a 20 to 30 page creative brief, and plans for social media components and community and impact strategies. Okay, Biodiversity Institute, which we all know from KU, the audience was co-determined with a person at the Biodiversity Institute and Natural History Museum to be college-age students who could use this as a resource, as well as high school-age students who were considering the sciences. The research format was science communication and women in STEM. We focused on Dr. Maria Skeels as a scientist and mentor to other women in STEM. The students produced multiple shoots within the collections. They did interviews and they used archival material. Thrive, where here our research issues are in the intersections of children, at-risk communities, underserved communities, equity and opportunity. It turns out in the course of working with the class that we had a number of students whose own lives had intersectionality with issues of care, of equity, of academic access. So it was a really wonderful thing. With the Quindaro Underground Railroad Museum, the research areas included Indigenous, African American, and local hidden histories. It was surprising to me how many people had lived in Kansas all their life and didn't know about the Quindaro's role in the Underground Railroad, or its contemporary place as a local community museum. So the students produced, I don't have time really to show you the videos. If we can, I'll circle back around to them, or I'll drop these in the chat. I'm sure they'll get to you. They did a remarkable job with these. And I don't want to run over the time that Athena and Bakir both have. So I'm actually going to turn it over now to Athena. Shall I cue up your next slide, Athena? You are, yes, there you go. Ready? Are you ready? Or did I go too fast through everything?
No.
Ready to hop in? Okay. Athena Schnorr.
Hi, everyone. My name is Athena Schnorr. I'm a recent graduate at the University of Kansas Film and Media Studies Department. And as everything Meg has said, it has been 100% true. COVID and productions have been at a halt or a standstill for a while. And especially with students who, that's what we want to do. That's what we're out here for. And that's what we want to show. It was a little difficult to get that throughout. And so with this course being one of the first in-person courses, it was a real big hesitancy. If you want to, can I try?
Oh no, I can go. You want me to go forward?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yes, please.
Hesitancy is a great word for it.
Yes.
People were very anxious.
Yes. Oh, I think you went a little too far. So a little bit hesitancy at the beginning of this course. Like Meg said, it was a huge diverse of students from freshmen, well, sophomores, all the way up to seniors and stuff. And I was a senior at this moment. And so coming into this and getting into our groups and talking to multiple students and their backgrounds and things that they've done and things that they haven't done, it was a little nervousness with all of us, but with continuing to talk to these communities and Meg allowing us to kind of come back to who we are as a person and a community, and then go outreach to organizations and communities. It really allowed us to become closer friends. And as you can kind of see, we had a really good time in group chats and just became like a group for sure, and a production. If you want to go to the next slide. And I want to say like new beginning, because even though COVID did not stop what we had, it did halt it and did make things a little uneasy at first. And so from the beginning of this course of having that hesitancy and not knowing, and then to the end of all of us sitting around talking about it, asking questions, even like going through obstacles that we've had with different projects and groups, there was new creative ideas and ways how we can do that. And I know this was a huge growth of confidence with these students. And I know even with myself, I'm able to take these on and continue that with my career. So I'm gonna give it over to Bakir. So yeah.
Let me actually interject one quick thing here and say that Athena and Bakir were two of the most already accomplished and seasoned students coming into the class. And they were an incredible sort of mentoring line to other students who had maybe not quite as much experience producing or in production. So it was really an incredible benefit to also see the multiple layers of instruction, not just from me, but within one another, the peer-to-peer instruction that was happening. I mean, I set up the clients, but they pulled all the weight. Fuck you.
Hello, could you go to the next slide, please? Hello, my name is Bakir Hamada. I'm a senior majoring in film and media with a minor in journalism. So in digital storytelling, like we said earlier, we were given 3 options of humanitarian documentaries to work on. We as students were given this level of responsibility that was important to these underprivileged communities. This weighed on our shoulders, the fact that our work was important to a group of people in the sense of helping their communities. I think it really pushed our confidence in our roles. My group was Quindaro, and we were able to start archiving its lost history. its importance to Wyandotte Nation, the place where African Americans first came to freedom crossing the river from Missouri to Kansas, the location where the first African American university was burnt down 4 times, which I didn't know about, as well as its recent history with redlining and the effect on its area. Next slide. So because of this experience and new gained confidence, I started to use the tool of film to help people. I made a connection through the Quindaro Project to produce a documentary with America Patton, who's working on jazz albums to raise money to archive Quindaro's lost history, to show people how jazz gave people a voice when they weren't allowed to have one. Then I was able to start working on a documentary for KU Med regarding the African Trauma Initiative as a co-director, editor, and line producer, where we basically bring doctors in from underdeveloped countries like in Africa, and we help partner with manufacturing facilities to provide orthopedic implants to these countries. In the long run, this film could potentially save a countless number of lives. And I think a big reason to why I was able to do this was because I was pushed through digital storytelling to use film as a tool to help people. I was able to contribute to a broader extent. I think courses like this can really show a film student how film is about a lot more than just making money, and how they can contribute to society with that skill and knowledge. And if you guys want to check out any of my work and ongoing work, I can link it. I can send that in the chat, but there's some of my information up there. That's just my portfolio website.